key one. Stoic over 2,000 years ago, there was someone in Rome grappling with the same struggles that many of us face today. This individual, much like you, was doing their best, working hard, striving to live within their means, trying to stay focused, avoid distractions, and resist the temptations of jealousy and envy. They sought to follow the teachings of the Stoic philosophers, Zeno, Cleanthes, and Chrysippus, aiming to build a life of purpose and peace. Yet, despite their best efforts, they found themselves caught in the same traps we all fall into at times. They were struggling with time-wasting habits, comparing themselves to others, and not seeing the fruits of their efforts. They felt disconnected from the very Stoicism they sought to practice. This person's name was Ceres, and he wrote to his friend Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, seeking guidance. Seneca's response, which has come down to us as an essay titled On the Tranquility of Mind, is a timeless piece of wisdom that addresses the very thing Ceres and we struggle with. How do we achieve peace of mind in a chaotic world? Seneca's teachings are especially relevant in a time when distractions and noise are everywhere. The key to tranquility, according to the Stoics, is not to run away from the world or retreat into solitude. You can't just escape the clamor of life by retreating to a monastery or to some idyllic place, as many Romans attempted to do. Instead, the Stoic path is about cultivating an inner peace that remains undisturbed regardless of what's happening around us. Seneca himself, ironically, faced a life filled with noise and disorder. At one point, he was living under the oppressive rule of the mad Emperor Nero. Despite his attempts to focus on writing, he was constantly surrounded by distractions. The noise of arrests, the clattering of the blacksmith's forge, the sounds of horses on the street below, and more. It seemed like the world was conspiring to drive him mad. Yet, Seneca wrote that he had toughened himself against such disturbances. He learned to force his mind to concentrate, blocking out the distractions of the outside world. All outdoors may be bee drums, he said, provided there is no disturbance from within. In other words, tranquility doesn't come from eliminating external noise, but from creating an internal calm where no external force can shake you from your focus. This is the essence of Stoic tranquility. It's not about escaping the world, but about building the mental fortitude to stay centered amidst its chaos. As Marcus Aurelius also suggested, true peace comes not from running away, but from retreating inward, learning to calm the mind and center it on what truly matters, rather than being pulled in a million directions by external forces. Seneca's definition of tranquility is rooted in a sense of the path you're on, what he calls emia. It's the ability to stay focused on your own journey without being distracted by others' paths. In today's world, this means resisting the temptation to constantly compare yourself to others. Social media, for example, often bombards us with images of people's achievements and lifestyles, triggering feelings of inadequacy or jealousy. But Seneca would remind us that these distractions are not true sources of fulfillment. The key to tranquility lies in remembering and staying true to our own purpose, rather than getting lost in the noise of others' lives. Seneca cautions us against using external escapes as a solution to our problems. He speaks about people who hop from one destination to the next, seeking peace and tranquility, but who are ultimately never satisfied. The truth, he argues, is that no matter where you go, you cannot escape yourself. We carry our anxieties, our distractions, and our turmoil wherever we go. Tranquility, Seneca says, is a frame of mind, a sense of inner peace that comes not from changing our environment, but from changing our perspective. In addition to cultivating inner focus, Seneca offers practical advice on how to find tranquility, including the importance of choosing the right companions. He writes that you should surround yourself with people who value peace and tranquility, people who share similar goals and values. This is vital because we tend to become like the people we spend time with. If you're constantly surrounded by individuals who are rushing through life, endlessly chasing success, and who rarely take time for self-reflection, their pace will influence your own. On the other hand, if you choose friends who value calm, reflection, and intentionality, you'll be much more likely to adopt those same traits. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, made a similar point when he said, "If you live with a lame man, you will learn how to limp." In other words, the company we keep has a profound impact on how we think, act, and feel. Surrounding yourself with individuals who prioritize tranquility will help you stay grounded and avoid getting swept up in the noise of modern life. Ultimately, Seneca's teachings on tranquility remind us that peace is not something we can find outside of ourselves. It's something we must cultivate within. By choosing to focus on our own paths, by quieting the distractions of comparison and jealousy, and by surrounding ourselves with those who share our values, we can find the tranquility we seek in the midst of the noise and chaos of the world. Tranquility isn't the absence of disturbance, but the ability to remain undisturbed within. That's the kind of peace that truly lasts. Key 1. Stoic in today's world. It seems like everyone is constantly distracted, staring at their phones, rushing from one thing to the next without any real sense of purpose. The truth is, if you're always caught up in the frenzy, constantly chasing after the next thing, you'll probably never find true tranquility. The problem is not just the busyness, but the lack of intentionality behind it. As we go about our days, we often prize the wrong things that don't contribute to our peace or long-term happiness. The Stoic philosopher Seneca talks about this idea of busy idleness, where people are increasingly busy without any real sense of direction or purpose. Imagine running into someone who looks busy as they rush out of their house in the morning. If you asked them what they were doing, they'd probably say something like, "I have a lot of stuff to do," but when pressed about the purpose behind it all, they'd have no clear answer. They might be racing around, overwhelmed by their schedule, without any intentional plan or connection between tasks. It's like they're slaves to their own calendars, constantly on the move, but not with a clear sense of where they're going or why. In our own lives, it's easy to fall into this trap. Think about how often we let our emails dictate our actions, how we respond to notifications and messages without ever taking a moment to ask, "Is this the best use of my time?" This is where the concept of emia comes in, a Stoic principle that teaches us to distinguish between what's essential and what's urgent, what truly matters versus what feels like an obligation. Cultivating tranquility is about learning to filter out distractions and being deliberate about how we spend our time. It's not about being busy for the sake of it. It's about being focused and intentional with every action. Take vacations, for example. You could be on a beach, but if you're frantically checking things off a list, feeling like you need to keep up with everyone else's social media highlights, you're not truly relaxing. Tranquility isn't about a change of scenery. It's a state of mind, a firmness of inner peace that allows you to know what matters and gives you the freedom to let go of everything else. This sense of freedom from distraction is what Seneca refers to when he talks about limiting possessions and simplifying life. He argues that slavery lurks beneath marble and gold, that we think the cost of acquiring things is only their price, but in reality, there's so much more. The worry, the maintenance, the guilt, the endless cycle of needing to keep up with material possessions. Too many of us fall into the trap of thinking that buying more will bring peace, only to discover that those very possessions end up owning us. One of the best ways to create more tranquility in your life might be to start by decluttering, not just your physical possessions, but also your mental ones. Seneca would tell us to examine what we're holding on to that doesn't serve us. Are we consuming unnecessary information? Are we letting the noise of the world drown out what's truly important? In the age of endless notifications, it's easy to feel like we're falling behind, but in reality, less can often be more. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, understood this well when he lost all his possessions in a shipwreck and remarked that fortune had freed him to be a less encumbered philosopher. Sometimes, having less actually allows us to be more present, more focused, and more aligned with what truly matters. This idea extends to the information we consume as well. Just like Seneca warned about the dangers of accumulating too many possessions, today he might tell us that our addiction to constantly consuming news and information is another source of stress. Instead of trying to keep up with the endless flood of articles, updates, and notifications, Seneca would suggest that we cultivate a more refined information diet, choosing to focus on works and thinkers that truly enrich our minds, rather than simply filling it with the noise of the moment. The key to tranquility is not in having more. It's in having less, but with purpose. By simplifying your life, being intentional about where you invest your energy, and focusing on what truly matters, you'll begin to discover a deeper sense of peace and freedom. So, what can you let go of today, whether it's a possession, a habit, or a distraction, in order to create more space for the things that bring you true serenity? Key 1. Stoic Seneca's writings, despite being over 2,000 years old, offer an incredibly valuable lens through which we can better understand the chaos of our modern world. Instead of scrolling through endless feeds or obsessing over the latest trending topics, I find it far more enlightening to read about similar events from history. When we look back, whether it's a century ago, 200 years ago, or even 2 millennia, we remove the noise, the bias, and the fleeting opinions that cloud our judgment today. History provides us a clearer, more enduring perspective, free from the distractions of partisanship or recency bias, allowing us to grasp what truly matters. Take the pandemic, for example. If we had turned to Marcus Aurelius, who was writing during a plague himself, we could have gained not only valuable perspective, but also a roadmap for how to navigate our own crisis. Stoicism offers more than just philosophical musings. It provides real-world guidance on how to remain steady and purposeful in times of trial. Seneca's central insight on tranquility lies in flexibility, the ability to adapt. He experienced this firsthand throughout his tumultuous life. From his political career to his repeated exiles, Seneca was no stranger to misfortune. But what he teaches us is that tranquility doesn't come from avoiding hardship, but from adjusting to it. Whether it's through a change in career, adapting to sickness, or dealing with exile, Seneca emphasizes the importance of finding a way to serve, no matter what life takes from us. If one can't serve as a soldier, perhaps they can take public office. If they can't be seen in the forum, they can still offer silent support. The key idea Seneca imparts is that we should never view ourselves as powerless, even when the world changes dramatically around us. Tranquility isn't about escaping difficulties. It's about recalibrating our approach to them, always focusing on what we can control and adapting with grace. Seneca's lessons resonate deeply today, especially when considering the broader historical context. He points out that even in the darkest times, like the fall of Athens under the tyranny of the 30 tyrants, there were still figures like Socrates who embodied tranquility. Despite the chaos and violence, Socrates continued to stand firm in his values, offering counsel, encouragement, and solace to those around him. His ability to stay true to his principles and remain a beacon of goodness, even amidst overwhelming darkness, teaches us that tranquility comes from focusing on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our integrity. In today's stressful and turbulent world, tranquility is not about avoiding challenges, but about how we respond to them. It's about cultivating a sense of self-awareness and discipline, eliminating unnecessary distractions, and focusing on what we can do with the time, energy, and circumstances we are given. No, we're not guaranteed success, but if we stay focused on doing what is right, on taking action based on wisdom, justice, courage, and self-discipline, we are present in the moment, and that is the foundation of peace of mind. The future remains uncertain, and it's easy to be overwhelmed by chaos, noise, and distractions. But if we can take Seneca's wisdom to heart, if we focus on what's within our control, and if we embrace the virtues of courage, discipline, justice, and wisdom, we can weather any storm. In the midst of all the uncertainty, we can find strength, peace, and clarity. This is what true tranquility looks like. Not an absence of difficulty, but the ability to maintain composure and integrity no matter what comes our way.